All right, and now it's time for data point. Remember, earlier on I told you that the High Court has suspended the Gazette Notice that was published by the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Professor Kithure Kindiki, that was seeking to increase several service charges for different citizen services. Let's just take a look at some of them before we can get to that story. And first of all, you may have seen it, that the Gazette Notice was talking about if you want a new ID card, so you've never been registered, so you are new, you just turned 18, you want an ID card. Currently, it is free of charge, but the proposal or the new policy that has been suspended now is to pay 1,000 shillings. If you have an ID but you lose it, at the moment you're supposed to pay about 100 shillings, but now the government is proposing or wants to raise that by 2,000% to hit 2,000 shillings. Something else that is going to be implemented should the court lift the suspension, a birth certificate or a death certificate. At the moment, it costs you about 150 shillings to get it, but with the new Gazette Notice, it is going up to 500 shillings. Now, if you have a foreign registration of death or birth, if you visit the mission nearest to you, a Kenyan mission, at the moment, it's about $50. You can convert to the current exchange rate. But if this becomes a new reality, then you're going to pay up to $150. At the moment, it's just over 22,000 shillings based on the current exchange rate. Something else, passports. At the moment, if you want an ordinary passport of 34 pages, you're paying 4,500 shillings for that. The new rate is 7,500. So that's an increment of 3,000, or if you like, almost 75%. Ordinary passport of 50 pages at the moment costs you 6,000 shillings. It is being proposed to rise to 9,500 shillings. Ordinary passport of 66 pages currently costing you 7,500. The increment is 5,000 to hit 12,500 shillings. Diplomatic passport, a 50-page passport, that would be at the moment 7,500. It is being increased by double, if you like 100%, to reach 15,000 shillings. What's more is that for a lost passport, now you've misplaced yours, currently you pay 12,000 shillings for replacement. The new rate is 20,000 shillings. You can see how that affects you. For mutilated passport, you need to replace it because it's not usable. At the moment, you pay 10,000 shillings. The new rate is double that, which is 20,000 shillings. Now, they're introducing something new, which is express passport. So you go to the immigration department, you want to apply for a passport, and you want it that very day. At the moment, it does not exist. The proposal is to introduce that and charge you 30,000 for that. What more? And here, talking about citizenship, remember that if you're born in Kenya or born of Kenyan parents, then you're automatically a Kenyan citizen. But you may want to regain citizenship. Probably you had renounced it and now you want to regain. At the moment, you pay 5,000 shillings. The new rate is 10 times of that, which is 50,000 shillings. If you want to declare, so you're a dual citizen and you want to declare it, at the moment it costs you 0 shillings. The new rate is 10,000 shillings. For renunciation, so you would no longer want to be identified as a Kenyan, costing you 20,000 at the moment, but now it is going to cost you 50,000 shillings with the new rate. What's more? Again, if you want to be a citizen by marriage, so you've married someone who is not Kenyan, at the moment they pay 30,000 to be registered as citizens. That is rising to 100,000 shillings is what you're going to pay for that spouse to become Kenyan. Citizenship for widowers, so you've lost your spouse who was Kenyan, you had not registered as a Kenyan. Currently, it's costing you 20,000 shillings. It is turning to 50,000 shillings. So widower, but also widows if your spouse was Kenyan and yourself, you are not yet. What's more is that for registration for lawful residence, so you're in Kenya, you need a residence. At the moment, it's costing you 200,000 shillings. It is rising 5 times to 1 million shillings. For people that want to be, for registration for children or dependents to become permanent residents, then you're talking about 20,000 shillings. Now, soon 100,000 shillings is what you will have to pay for that. For permanent residents, for someone who is a former citizen of Kenya, for processing fee, it is 10,000 shillings at the moment. The new rate is 50,000 shillings. So there's a difference. So that is processing fee. But then there's the issuance of permanent residence for our next citizen, again 50,000, 100,000 shillings is the new rate. So in total, you'll have paid 50 plus 100, which is 150,000 for processing and then issuance. For lawful residents, the processing fee is 10,000 shillings at the moment. The new rate is 50,000. For lawful residents, the issuance of the document that you require there, currently 50,000, it is being doubled to 100,000 shillings. And you can see the implication of that when you consider everything. Then permanent residence for children of Kenyans born outside Kenya. So this has been very contentious. There's actually a conversation between the Principal Secretary of Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Njogu, saying that this was put here by mistake, but all the same, currently says that it's charged at 100,000 shillings. The new rate is to double that to 200,000 shillings. For children of Kenyans born outside Kenya, for the issuance, so that was processing, the issuance would be 500,000 shillings currently. 1 million shillings is the new rate. But again, there is contention, as the PS says there, that that was a mistake and is being addressed. So this is what the Gazette Notice said, according to what was published by CS Kindiki, that it is notified that pursuant to Regulation 60 of the PFM regulations, so PFM is Public Finance Management Act regulations of 2015, the CS for National Treasury has granted to the Interior CS the authority for the Immigration and Citizen Services Department to revise charges and levies on its services as shown in the schedule, which you have just described. Now, if you look at Regulation 60 of the PFM regulations, it says that 60 Regulation 1, receipts arising directly out of expenditure on a service, the primary purpose of which is not collection of revenue, such as user fees, user charges, may be appropriated in aid of the vote from which expenditure on the service is made. So this is what CS Kindiki is relying on to be the one that is now allowing him to go ahead and collect the revenue. Then 60 sub-regulation 2 says that despite the provision under what we just read, the Cabinet Secretary may designate any type of appropriations in aid as revenue in furtherance of certain government policies. Now, of course, the government policy at the moment is BETA, that is Bottom-Up Economic Transformation Program. And of course, what we know is that at the current time, the budget requires this department to collect more funds by more than 0.5 billion shillings, which is exactly 557 million shillings. And the increment that you see there in that Gazette Notice would appear to be geared towards ensuring that that happens. So we've been speaking to the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, and they are saying that yes, the regulation allows that to happen, but there are questions on whether that can happen without really getting the approval of Parliament, and whether actually the Committee on Delegated Legislation should be involved in such charges before they can become law, because once the gazettement happens, then it's assumed that that is law and should actually be implemented. But at the moment, the High Court has issued temporary orders stopping the government from implementing that Gazette Notice. And of course, we've also seen the Attorney General, that is Justin Muturi, saying that at the moment it is not clear where that is going, but saying that there are certain things that are being done to ensure that that can be revised at the moment. And that is Data Point this week.